I'm back. Haven't we seen this one before? Well, actually, no, you haven't. It's another one. Another one. Well, it's one of them Bogner things, you know, with that guy he's a bit weird guy from California. Well, he came from Germany, but don't hold that against him. The thing is, he made one of these called a Brixton. But it's old. Not as old as me. What the hell did I do in buying another one? There's got to be some logic to that, hasn't there? Or has there? This Bogner Brixton, I think it's a 7 or 14 watts, but don't hold it against me if it's 6 or 12. I've been asleep since I last looked at the specs. Point is, it's not very loud. But what it's really masterful at, and I mean godlike, yeah, little thing like this, godlike, is rock and metal. And if you don't believe me, if you can find one anywhere, just go and plug in there and you'll be absolutely amazed at how good this thing is for that style of music. You could use it for other things. I mean, you turn the gain down, you turn the volume up, and it's all good, even down to the blues level of stuff. But for anybody who plays sort of faster, sort of metal-y sort of stuff, for anybody who plays in the studio and that sort of thing, don't worry about your Axe FXs of this world, or your, you know, any of the 4 synthesized type of sounds, you know, the simulators, the GT1000, you name them. It's a list as long as my arm down. I've got a long arm. What do you think? Yeah, don't waste your time. You can buy one of these, in the case of a fractal audio, for a fifth of the price of one of them. This one's got real tubes in it. Doesn't need to be messed around with. Yeah, and less than half of the price of a Line 6. So, in many ways, it's all good news. But it's even more good news if you live in America. Why? Oh, you can buy these for about $500 in this condition, which is absolutely like brand new. I mean, I could give you a run through. You're going to see all the bits of it later anyway. But yeah, for your $500, that's about £400 or less. There is nothing that will come near it, and it's one of those little secrets out there that nobody's ever going to tell you. But you listen to one of these that's been recorded, and yeah, it's just amazing. So it's a bargain of the century. It surpasses most of the amps, near enough all of the amps, these low powered things that you see out there, if you play rock or metal. It's that simple. And that's why I have 2. But there's another ulterior motive too, which I'm sure some people would be interested in when you start talking about Bogner. Now, Bogner's one of them sort of companies that's been around a while. They make very, very high quality products. I mean, I think it was about $1,500 new, give or take, plus tax. So it's no cheap and bottom end amp. And if you check my other reviews, which should be down there somewhere in the text, you can go and see everything about it. But Bogner's one of these sort of people that generally, as a company, well, they're not particularly helpful to you. Let's put it this way, if you need a schematic and it's out of warranty, yeah, well, they don't issue schematics. So that's a bit of a shortcoming, I think. And it's a bit of a shortcoming for the entire company in the way they think about that. Now, some people will say that, oh yeah, but he's protecting his whatever. Who cares? I'm only interested in my discontinued guitar amplifier and doing some work on it. Yeah. And guess what? Bogner is never going to give you the schematic. End of story. Thanks very much. Bye bye. It says a lot about spending $1,500 on one of these new, doesn't it? Or anything else from Bogner, for that matter. Taking companies like Marshall, Fender, there's a whole list of them. I don't have any trouble getting the schematic for that, providing I can prove I'm qualified enough. And in my case, I've got employees that are qualified enough. So it would be nice to be able to get schematic diagrams out of this character. But this video is more about this amp rather than some schematic that I can't get and you can't get either. And if you can, just go to my website and text me or, fill the form out. Yeah, love to hear from you. Yeah, and maybe we could do things the easy way rather than the hard way. But what's the video really about? Well, it's all about the second one, and trust me, it is my second one. And, well, I'm going to recover it for starters. I think this is a horrible cover. And the other one's the same. It's got these sort of yin-yang things on it. Yeah, it's not my scene, man. I mean, it might be okay in Cali, California, but it's not really very good where I come from in England. No, doesn't do it, does it? And lastly, another frustration. It's this giant, what's this carbuncle stuck on the front? It's nearly as big as the amp. What idiot come up with, oh yeah, I know which one. But secondly, and more important, I'm going to be showing you in this video exactly why these people don't want to issue schematic diagrams for these products. And one of those reasons is that this is going to be converted to 240 volts or 230, 240. It makes a little difference in England. So whether it can be done easily, hard, or just some claim can't be, that's hogwash. It's going to be done, whatever it takes, and it's all going to be on this video. So if you say to yourself, well, I haven't got a Brixton, well, you might have that approach, but the fact is that not having a Brixton is completely irrelevant. You might have a Bogner, and there's a lot of Bogners, most of the Bogners, you can't convert, or they make it so difficult that you wouldn't know where to start. Most people wouldn't know where to start. Indeed, like me, here I am, without the schematic it's harder. But it's not actually that difficult. You just have to have a small bit of knowledge, and hopefully this video will help you. But hey, one thing, get this right. If you haven't got a clue, don't do what I'm doing. If you go and do what I do and you magically get killed, it's your problem. I'm telling you not to do it. You can watch, safe at the other side of that glass there. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, it's good there. But it's not so good if you're here poking around inside and you have no clue. In fact, I don't recommend that. So what I want to do is to start off as I mean to proceed. We're going to whip this amplifier out. I might show you around it quickly, but you're going to see a bit anyway. Yeah, whip the amplifier out and take a look at whether it can or can't be converted easily. I know there's some spare wires floating around, but that's meaningless unless you actually spend time checking it. Which you'll find out the answers on this video to convert one of these. And I'm telling you now, honestly, if you need to convert one and you've got one of these, or better still, if you haven't got one and you find one of these USA versions, which there's more of these than there is of the ones where you live, maybe in Australia or Singapore or England or Ireland or anywhere in Europe. Yeah, it's worth converting and stuffing. Yeah, that's what I say. So I'm going to whiz it out now and we'll go from there. Okay, quick look across the amp. Power transformer, here it is in all its glory. Or is it gory? One or the other. Output transformer. In fact, strangely, this one is different than the one on the other one of these Bogner Brixtons. Almost an ecstasy. That's something to do with something else, I think. Anyway, the Brixton. It sits this way on the other one, and this one's too big for that, so it's probably why you've got all these holes, so you can sort of mount the thing depending on which one you decide on. Yeah, on the amp. It's very interesting. Couple of these JJ things, 6V6S's. This one's a, oops, if you can see, yeah, you can just. This one here is a Sovtech 12AX7 LPS, and the last one is another one of these JJ 12AX7 types. You can put different tubes in them if you want to reduce the drive, and there is a lot of drive. I'm not going to wing on too much about the front and the back. Might just go round the back just for a quick check or something. Well, here we are around the business end, and the important thing is it's 117 volts. It clearly says that. Its serial number is that. Who cares? I don't. Looks like it was made in 2006. Yeah, which, like I said, makes it a bit old. And a lot of the other dates inside the amp similarly add up to a similar period. This one's, let's move across a bit, 6V6, and it has a 2, 8 and a 16 ohm output. And as for anything else, it's pretty much pointless to start digging. There's nothing under that except a little cover, because on some of the other amps they use this chassis for, there's a looks like a choke, but there's nothing under this one. So let's whip the bottom off and start taking a look at what matters on this this power conversion kit. So, taking a look at this thing, you've got a couple of fuses, or fuse holders should I say. This is the HT one, and this is, yeah, I think that's just the regular mains one. Yeah, so off you go. We've got this coil of windings here, which we're going to have to look at on this one, I'm afraid. Partly because if I look at the actual input wires that are going into the transformer, particularly the input side, there's only 3. Now on the Shiva, there is some jiggery-pokery going on where you can join 2 of the windings together to make 240 volts. Very nice. But not so on this one. We've got the inputs, we've got the switch it on or off up here. That's the on or off. Comes back through this thing and then whizzes its way off into the transformer. So I am going to have to plug it in, and I am going to have to get the meter out and check each one of these outputs. That's important. And we'll have another look at the inputs and what's floating around on these wires too. You never know. I'm back. Well, you haven't seen much on there, but I've seen much on here. And I've been backwards and forwards working out whether this thing can actually be converted to 240 volts. On the original review I did of this amp, that's the Brixton, the Bogner Brixton, I said, well, no, you can't do a conversion on it, but I was wrong. And here it is, the conversion. And I'm going to show you exactly how to take a Bogner Brixton and make it a 240 volts amplifier by changing just one wire. Yeah, just one wire. Of course, you've got to know which one. And if you haven't got one of these things, one of these variacs, big thing, chunky thing, bit expensive for what they are, but without it, it's very hard to do, and with it, well, it's very much easier. And I did speak to a friend of mine, he'll know who he is, who said, oh yeah, do this, check this, do that. And he was exactly right. Now strangely, the wiring on this is very similar to a Fender amplifier, but believe it or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in closely now, and what we'll do is we'll put up there on the screen after we've had a look at it, and what I did, exactly how you change the diagram to, you know, change the wire, the one wire, to make things all good. Yeah, it took me a while to do because I was guessing for some of some other way, but you won't be guessing because it's all very easy. And the other good news is, if you were really careful, you could probably run it at 220 volts as well. Yeah, I think there's a facility to do that. Now I can't say to you that, hey, this wire is 220 volts, but I'm pretty sure it is. And don't forget, later on we're going to be recovering that with the vinyl down there. Tell you what, I'll just let you have a quick look at the vinyl before we move on. It's like a purple. Let me get so I can show you. Yeah, it's like a purple. You can see it there now. And I think purple with this nice cream logo here, it's all going to come out very nice. Anyway, enough of that for now. So let's get down inside this amp. And don't you do it unless you know what you're doing. Don't be like me. I'm not an example. Remember, I've got one of these that can work at all different voltages, so I can check this at a 12 volt input to the amp and determine which wire's which way. You can't if you ain't got one of these, so don't do it. Okay, here's the sort of tools I used. I used a variac. Now this is a 0 to 260 volts and it's a 10 amp job, so I can get the bigger amps solved with this as well and run them and reduce the power as Eddie might have and things like that if I really wanted to. But of course I don't. I just want to use it to do a bit of diagnostic work and then do the mods. The other thing I use is one of those there. No, not the jigsaw in the background. One of those. This one's currently set up to 20 volts because I was tending to measure the heaters. But I did go across to the HT, which runs at about 600 volts, by the way, on this particular amplifier. I also often use a Mesa Boogie cab clone, and I just run that across to the speakers. This is a 16 ohm one, and this amplifier supports that. So yeah, I just run that across as a dummy load for when I've got tubes in and it's turned on and things like that. If you want tubes in there, you can do this mod without the tubes in. Now then, the whole mod revolves around the on-off switch and the wire on this side, that's the bottom wire of the two. So the top wire is black and white. It actually comes from the power in socket, that does. But the bottom wire is actually also black and white. But what you do with that one, that bottom black and white, is you take it off. Now I've got some other pictures I might be showing you on the screen. Take that black and white wire off from this side at the bottom, and then what you do is you find this wire. Yeah, this one. It's wrapped up in among these down here. So you undo these, uncoil them, you've got a black and green, which I believe is 220 volts. You've got a white and black, which you can also see there that I didn't use for anything. And you've also got this this black and red. All very simple, you can see it. This is a piece I cut off because it's longer than you need. So you have to uncoil them, separate it all out, find the black and red and connect it on this side at the bottom. And if you do that, it should all be good. In fact, it should all be very good. Well, I know it's all very good because I've already done it. And there's your on-off switch and your standbys over here and all the rest of it. And yeah, if you want to check it further, just behind here, you can't quite see them, but is two pads which should be, when you've got this right, if you push this to 120 volts, you would see around about 3 volts on those two pads there. And of course, when you take it to 240 volts, you'll have your 6.5 volts or thereabouts on those two pads. So that's a nice easy way of doing things, and you don't have to turn on any standbys or anything like that. In fact, just be very careful though of all the other things that are kicking around, because there is some very high volts. If we was to move back across to that, which is the standby switch, there's a high and a low.
output, that is. Here's the input coming into the top of the thing here, and this is near enough 600 volts across there, so you really don't want to go near it. If you flip it too high, it will come out on these red ones and go into the board, these ones here. And if you flip it to low, down underneath there's two blue wires. So I think it ends up at 420, something like that, from the ones at the bottom of the board, you know, when you flip it the other way. So the blue will be feeding it at about 420 volts, give or take. So it sort of drops the HT. Yeah, there's not really much more you can say about it. Well, there's a couple of things actually. We have a fuse here that specifies 1 amp, and I guess you'll be changing that to, I think it's 500 milliamps. And apart from that, that's the amp converted, all well and done, easily. So you just take that red and black and you put it over this side on the bottom one. So it's best to undo this so you can get at that bottom. And don't forget that you need the heat shield or heat seal. You want this stuff to cover up. You can see on that switch on the top wires where it's been used to isolate the wires that connect. And that's exactly what I did, exactly the same thing. And the wires that you remove from being used, what you do with them is you just cut them flat and then seal them off with this heat seal again, like I did right there. So it's all a nice and simple job to do. Yeah.
So my friends, if you're like me, well, no, you don't want to be like me. The point is, I've got my little drawing here. I've got to turn it into something that I'm going to put on the screen up there. It's probably up there now. So the first one you're looking at, I'll carry on looking at my cheap nasty one. The first one you're looking at is the original wiring of how it was set up and you know, what went where. All nice and easy really. Well, it's easy once you know what each wire does, and it's very difficult if you don't, which I didn't at the time. Now, you can see it up there. I'm talking about the black and white original in and the black in, and how they go off into the power transformer. All nice and simple so far, right? Yeah. Now if you look at this this modified diagram on screen right now, you'll see that the black and white comes in where it used to come in, and the black goes to where it used to go, and the black on the right hand side of that switch goes off into the power transformer as it used to. But what's changed is the black and white wire that was on the left hand bottom, looking at the switch from the back, is now the black and red, and that'll flip your amp across to being 240 volts, which is just really very nice. Now, one of the things I did want to cover is the aspect of these wires when you're checking them out with an ohm meter. And I'm talking of the wires on the primary side of the power transformer. You'll notice that basically, if you take the black wire, which is already coming in from this socket, and you take the black and red, and you put your meter across there, you'll find that the resistance is about 10 ohms. Yeah, 10 ohms. If you was to take your meter though against the black and white and the black, you'll find the ohms range is about 5. Now that does give you a bit of an indication of something, because straight off, when it's black and white and black, that's 117 volts in, and you've got 5 ohms. Well, if you take 117s and double it, you should be able to find 10 ohms, shouldn't you? It's that easy really. So if you go and get that one that I said, the black and red, and the black wire, not the black and white one, that's the wrong one, you don't need that. Get the black one, you'll find that it's about 9.5 to 10 ohms, which is double. So it should be able to give you a bit of an indication that it's wound more. You know, the tap is in a different place. It's in a few taps. And the green and black was a little bit less than that. I think, if I remember right, that was I think that was about 8 ohms. So that's less than 240, maybe it's 220, give or take. I didn't check any others, but interesting, very interesting how you can determine a good guess at what the actual primary taps are, and the input side, how you work it out. That's the solution that nobody's showed you whatsoever on YouTube. In fact, if you can go on all the forums as well, you're wasting your time. Nobody's got any answers. Nobody. Well, it's much worse than you might think, because I sent no less than 3 emails to Bogner just asking them about this. I didn't want to buy any parts, like they're so great at pointing out on their website, we won't sell you a power transformer. I wasn't asking to buy any power transformer or anything like that. I was asking for a bit of advice from the company that makes this amplifier. And they couldn't be bothered to even reply to an email. That's how much they were bothered. They couldn't care less. It's even an amplifier that's been discontinued for a few years now. I think it was 2014 or 16 it was discontinued. So they've got nothing to lose by telling me about a couple of wires. They couldn't be bothered to contact me. So that's, my view of Bogner is, well, they make quite interesting equipment. The support side, I have to say, from my own experience, and that's all I can work from, well, they're worse than some of the really nasty companies that I could name, for support. I was very disappointed about that. And I think you should sit back a bit and consider 3 emails and no response whatsoever. Doesn't bode well, does it? I don't know about you. I'm all keen to get rid of all this junk off here. You want to see my wife? She's standing on her head over there. Yeah, get rid of all this junk on here. And I think what we'll do next is, in a different video, I think what we'll do is recover that case. And then we'll come back on a 3rd video, put the 2 together, and do a bit of playing again. Because this amplifier, listen, I've got 2 of them. I didn't have 2 of them for no reason. I didn't buy 2 of them because, they're not really very good. Or they're just a metal amp, or they're just this, or they're just that. No, I bought 2 of them because they're probably one of the best bargains that you can find if you play rock or metal. Perfect for metal. Good for blues too, by the way. I have reviewed the amp before. I never really showed much by way of playing, but I think I'll do that on this one. I've got the other amp to mod as well, of course, but I'm not going to do that on video. Just want to get this out there, so, if you do see one of these that's cheap, and I dare say it applies to the entire range of this series, these Bogner International amplifiers. They made a number of these. This one's the Bogner Brixton, but they made a Palermo, they made some other names that I can't even remember, but it's quite a number of these amps, and I can put your money on it that they're all pretty much similar, and it's highly likely, if not definite, highly likely that the wiring I just showed you is probably very similar on those amps. So let's bust the little secret that nobody wants to tell you and get it out there. But remember, you go and get killed. Sorry, I told you not to do it. Well, that's it for now on this particular video. I'm going to move along onto another video now and recover that head, and then I'll do the other amp out of the way. But I hope you've enjoyed looking at this one, because it's quite a nice amp. Quite a nice amp. I might just show you even a bit more about it. Yeah, just before it fades out, I'll run the camera over here. It's really worth looking at. And when you get to hear this amp, this is like a sleeper amp that you can pick up for less than $500. Less than $500. That's cheaper than an orange amp. Yeah, well, cheaper than most of them. Yeah, pretty cheap. But it isn't cheap. It says here on the back, handcrafted in Los Angeles, California. And I can tell you now, it ain't been made in Japan or China or anywhere else. This has actually been made in California. So, what a deal. What a sleeper amp. What a great deal this is. Anyway, don't forget to visit www.TonyMckenzie.com, which is sitting there unmodified for some while. Got to have the drive to go and do it. Got to have the want to do it, that's the main thing. And yeah, I'm not even going to tell you how I rate the amp until the third video, when it's all been done and it's all rock and roll again. And it's 240 volts and it's all good. Yeah. So I'll say get out of here, but spend another couple of minutes just casting your eyes across the inside here. I'll bring the camera over and let you have another look inside. They're really great amps, really great. So until next time, get out of here. Disturbed too soon. I couldn't cut you as I wanted to. Back on the town in Midas Square, that's where you drank your very last beer. Throat slit to keep you quiet. I just started, so now I can't fry it. I left a little message on the wall. I wonder if it'll make love